Welcome to Trivial Debate.
Okay, welcome everyone to this month's edition of Trivial Debates. This is the ultimate pop culture challenge. I'm your host this week, Chris Seymour. We have some awesome new debates this month. Each episode, our panelists will be judged and scored on their arguments for facts, passion, and creativity. Our panelists this week are all the way from Nova Scotia. We have Davan.
Davin, but close enough.
Davan. Davan.
Oh man, don't worry about it. That happens every day.
Davin?
Yep.
Davin is better? Okay.
Yep.
And our most
Actually, maybe I want a new persona. Maybe go with the other one.
Our most experienced guest this week, contestant number 2, is Jessica.
Just one other time I've been on here, so your expectations like down here. That's all I'm gonna say.
So I expect you to be fantastic this week, Jessica. You're
Jessica coming in strong.
And another first timer, all the way from Burlington, Ontario, is Maxx.
Woo! Hey,
Max's first time here too, so good luck to you, Maxx.
Gonna be first and number 1, baby.
How the show works is there are 6 rounds plus a speed round by our top 2 panelists. We're going to argue movies, TV, music, sports, history, and then there's a wild card question. We do want people to be passionate, but not personally mean to each other, well, as much as possible. Keep in mind, you can skip to a new debate by looking at the time indexes in the description and going to the battles that interest you in the most. Okay, let's get ready to rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble!
All right, here we go.
Okay, we're gonna start with the movie round this week, as most times we do. Musicals I think are a lost art personally. So, what is the best musical of all time? And I guess we're gonna start this one with contestant number 1 here, Maxx.
All right, so I'm gonna start off by saying my favorite. I'm one of the youngest contestants here today, and I pull a lot of mine from kind of more modern movies, and mine's going to be La La Land. This is a movie that grossed almost $500 million at the worldwide box office, set records with the Emmys and the Golden Globes. Sorry, not Emmys, the Oscars. And one of the coolest parts about it is the director actually won Best Director at the Oscars and was the youngest ever at 32. I mean, it was just such a great ensemble. The cast was fantastic. The chemistry between Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling was impeccable. It's really hard to go against that one, especially with the original song, City of Stars. It's just such an ear candy one, right? Like it gets in your ear and you will be sitting there humming along, whistling along, or singing along to it for the next month because of that, just because of how good it is. But yeah, mine's going to be La La Land for this week.
I'm glad you got that in there at the end and actually told us what movie it was.
I said La La Land at the start, did I not?
No,
He did.
He did.
He did. Okay, I didn't hear it.
Thank you.
Sorry, Maxx.
Chris is already trying to sewer me.
Let's move on to another new contestant we have, Davan.
Devin.
All right. Well, I chose the Blues Brothers because it's just so high level at everything it does. I think most musicals are judged and compared to other musicals, whereas Blues Brothers is just my favorite comedy of all time and one of the great comedies. As a film, you've got some of the greatest comedic actors of all time with Aykroyd, Belushi, John Candy, Carrie Fisher's even in there. It's directed by John Landis, who directed Animal House and American Werewolf in London, Coming to America, Trading Places, and a lot of other, Michael Jackson's Thriller video as well. The music, it's got some of the best musicians and performers of all time. Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin, John Lee Hooker, Cab Calloway, James Brown, all doing, classics and hits of theirs. it has memorable scenes and settings and great one-liners, like we're on a mission from God, and a lot of good one-liners. The main characters and actors were also musicians.
Fantastic, Davan. Thanks for your answers. And we're going to move on to Jessica, contestant number 3.
Oh, so I chose for my best musical of all times 2001's Moulin Rouge by Baz Luhrmann. I think I love this movie. It is like a Technicolor, crazy, all over the place. It's like beautiful. It's stunning. It's like in your face with all its specs. I love the way it uses like pop music, but like in a really interesting way, different way. The performers are all fantastic. Ewan McGregor, Nicole Kidman, Jim Broadbent. I mean, how can you beat Jim Broadbent singing like a virgin? And I think one of the things I love about it also is just that, like, if you like musicals, a lot of credit usually goes to 2002's Chicago for bringing back the musical to like the modern day, but it was really 2001's Moulin Rouge that like kind of resurged the musical into being a like legitimate form of entertainment again, and kind of brought musicals back into the mainstream. And it's just such a fun movie, and it's like got a great story. There's tragedy, there's comedy. It's just such a wonderful film. And actually watched it on my first date, and I walked down the aisle to one of the songs. So also very meaningful for me.
Thank you, Jessica. Perfect timing there. Let's see, Max. So why is your movie better than the other two?
So I do love both movies. I do believe that Moulin Rouge is clearly a second here. I still think, like, while they are both fantastic, I think that La La Land is what is established as almost the pinnacle of what the modern musical is today, right? It took everything that has through the last like 10 or 20 years that have been building up for these modern musicals and put it all together in this beautiful package. The choreography is some of the most engrossing and captivating in a modern musical. The original songs are just incredible. The music is so moving, it perfectly fits with every scene that you're into.
If anyone disagrees with the Max here, feel free to jump in at any time.
Blues Brothers has one of the best, if not the best, car chases of all time, and it's a musical. These other musicals are just like standard musical fare.
Is it a car chase or an elaborate car crash? Because it's really just
both, and it's amazing. No, they keep going; it never crashes.
But
amazing.
Now, does that? I mean, is that really a musical then, or is it just a
cool car crash? And what it did, what these other standard fare don't do, is it showed that you can do musicals with a different style of music, a different style of dancing. You can have Aretha Franklin dancing on a restaurant table, singing Think. Like, it's amazing. Cab Calloway imagining himself on a grand stage when he's just kind of in a ratty old suit and everyone's kind of looking at him skeptically. Like,
one thing I'll counter though is
amazing.
One of the things that makes a musical is the original songs, right? And that's something that kind of missing out of the Blues Brothers is it's a lot of fantastic songs, don't get me wrong, but they're all just like songs that have already been out there, been in the mainstream for a while at that point.
Some of which, though, were written by and performed by the main cast.
Yes,
they were Blues Brothers songs. They were original to the Blues Brothers.
That's fair.
A lot of songs in traditional musicals are actually like popular music of the day. So, like, a lot of people think that they're traditional to those musicals. It's just that we are not familiar with the music that is in those old musicals because it's not popular music for us. So I feel like that's honor, like, to the
the scene where.
But
they're
Blues Brothers, I don't know. I feel like Blues Brothers is more like I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes it's mean. I love Blues Brothers. It's one of my husband's favorite movies too. But like, I feel like it's a movie with music and not a musical.
Yeah.
Like the same way as like A Star Is Born is not a musical. It's like a movie with music in it, but it's not
a movie about music. It's not a musical.
Yeah.
It's both, which is another reason it's better than those other two. But what I would counter that with is the music in it in musicals are just what makes those songs different, is that they're explaining. It's more like dialogue. They're like taking part in the scene, or they are the scene in itself. The music does do that in the Blues Brothers. It's just a different style of music. Like Aretha Franklin singing "Think" to her husband, who she thinks is a bum.
But La La Land, like look at La La Land, like a lot of the songs that come through La La Land aren't dialogue; they're actual, like the movie plays to the song, not so much the song playing to the movie. Like City and Stars really doesn't have anything to do with the actual, like the two lead actors. It's more about Los Angeles and the beauty of being captivated by the whole. I want to make it big, like the drive to be successful in Los Angeles. It's not about,
wasn't
Ryan
that movie
Gosling.
about an egoist?
No, it's about that. Who doesn't grow up sitting there like watching movies, being like, I'd love to be an actor one day, right? Like that, and that's the whole premise behind these, like the City and Stars is, it's not about trying to. His Rocket Age is not a musical, Max. Jamil?
I would say with La La Land, I mean, I love the set pieces. I love watching it. But like a lot of musical parts of that movie really kind of separate from like the story and as it goes on. Like the first opening doesn't even have the main characters, and it's just a big opening. Like I would feel like, I don't know.
That's a classic musical thing, though, right?
It is. I mean, I love the movie. I just feel like also like the conflict in that movie was very like, I didn't really understand. Like they just kind of were like, she auditions for this movie and she goes to Paris and they're like, well, I guess that's it then. Like, why did they break up? What was the conflict at the end of it all?
Yes.
Like,
See,
it didn't really make a lot of sense to me as to why they broke up. Like they didn't really explain it. They just kind of were like, oh, we're done. Now she's famous and he has a jazz bar. The end. Like,
and in the end, dreams are nice, but a mission from God is something entirely else.
My movie, I like Moulin Rouge. Like it is just like in your face musical. Like it's glittery, it's fantastic. Like every scene is just over the top, beautiful, and like it's not just a regular jukebox musical. Because like the way that Baz Luhrmann took these songs and reworked them, like Elephant Love Medley has like 30 of the best love songs in it.
I was gonna say,
I'm gonna
sue myself for this one here, but that song, Elephant Love Medley, like where the two of them are just singing to it, like that might be one of the most incredible scenes in a movie with music I've ever seen. Like just the fact that it goes through, like you just get these each difference. Like
it's amazing. But then like also like they took Roxanne and made it a tango, like an amazing tango. They had beautiful tango dancers throughout the whole thing, and it was part of like the jealousy of him. Like they took it and it made it meaningful for Ewan McGregor's characters. Christian, his jealousy at his Satine being like having to be with the Duke. She's a prostitute in the film, and like every song was meaningful. It wasn't just like let's ram in a bunch of like songs just for the sake of having all these popular music songs. Like everything was like Your Song. Ewan McGregor sings to her when they fall in love. And like it is like one of the songs in the movie is spectacular, and I feel like that movie it was spectacular.
I mean, you guys are obviously forgetting about the scene where they sing Rawhide in a cage, because when the patrons are happy, they throw bottles at the act. I mean, that's dramatic. That's drama for you. Tension, comedy, all wrapped into one. Rawhide.
Thanks, Jamil. Exactly. Yeah.
I disagree. I mean,
I think the time's up for this round, anyways, guys.
Okay.
Time to stop arguing about this. So I have to weigh in here. I'm gonna say, Max, for your first time and being the first contestant, you did a fantastic job. Davin, you did a fantastic job as well. I agree. Blues Brothers is a musical comedy. Is a great movie. But this round is going to go to Jessica because I think she argued against both your movies very well. And also, Max is going to agree.
I agreed with one song.
You did.
One song.
Well, if you agree on this show, you're pretty much counting yourself out.
Oh, no. I love both of those movies, by the way. This was a very difficult round.
Yeah. 100%. As soon as you said yours, I was like, crap.
All right. Let's get back to this. Okay, Chris?
Yep. So we are going to go on to the TV round now. Let me just bring up my notes here. So the question is, who was the best child actor in a TV series? And I got asked some questions. Doesn't matter if it's Netflix, TV, whatever. Up to you. So we're going to start with contestant number 2 this time, Davan.
Okay, well, I chose Fred Savage from The Wonder Years because for a child actor during all those awkward transitional years as a child, he had to do so much, and he did it so well. He had to carry the humor in that show, in the drama in that show. He had to carry the acting chops in that show a lot of the time. Not to say the others weren't good actors, but he steals every scene in that show. I've watched some to refamiliarize myself with it before this debate, and it's just amazing how much he carries it. He was the first child ever nominated for Outstanding Actor at the Primetime Emmys, opening that up for any other child actors, to be taken seriously. The show won 22 awards and nominated for 54 more, basically because of him. The kitchen table scenes were legendary. He was a great silent actor. He had to do, whenever Daniel Stern was narrating as his inner monologue, he had to do it all with his eyes.
Okay. Thanks for that, Davan. Good opening argument. So we're going to move on now to Jessica and get her pick.
I had to go with Jaleel White, Family Matters. He came in at 12 years old. His first appearance was supposed to be a one-time guest appearance, and the audience loved him so much. The show loved him so much. He became a series regular, and he really is like one of the most memorable things about that show. He's got a catchphrase, "Did I do that?" He became so popular. He had his own doll. He had a breakfast cereal, Urkel O's. I mean, come on, like. He ended up writing several episodes of the show. He played multiple characters. He was Stefan. He was Myrtle Urkel. He was such a great character, a lovable character. You instantly remember his suspenders, his glasses, his catchphrase. And yeah, he was just one of the iconic people of the 90s. And he was just all with his acting, his skill, his charisma. I mean, Jaleel White. It has to be Jaleel White.
Okay.
Okay, great choice, Jessica. Some good points there. So let's move on to Max.
So let's start this. Just trying to think of like a child actor that had been very successful. Just trying to kind of put myself together, like who really shines in my mind. And I looked at this question more as like who's taken their career as a child actor and been able to continue it and continue to be a force to be reckoned with. And that's why I'm going with actually a modern one with Zendaya. Pretty modest beginnings but being a Disney star, and with it was called Shake It Up in 2011. I remember my sisters watching that show, and it was actually pretty good, but I wasn't really sure how successful she'd be after that, but she's proven almost everyone wrong. This is a woman who has now become one of the names in Hollywood, with like being the new MJ in Spider-Man and being in my opinion, a fantastic version of MJ. I think she's done a really good job with that character. Damn, I had more.
Thanks, Max. I guess we'll start with Davan and your opinion on why Fred Savage is better than the other two picks here.
Look, sorry, Max, but Zendaya is not even in the conversation here. She's on a Disney show and got famous as an adult. Jaleel White was my second pick. And the reason he was my second pick and not my first pick is for a lot of episodes, and they did give him some good drama episodes and some good comedy episodes, but for a lot of them, he was just a catchphrase. And there was a lot of "did I do that" as a scene, whereas like there's not a scene that Fred Savage does where he's not just being a phenomenal child actor and just phenomenal actor.
Can you counter that?
Yeah, I mean, like Fred Savage, like as you said, like his Daniel Stern's narration, like that was part of it. Like he was kind of sharing the screen with like another big time actor. Yeah, but
that's a point on my
relying
my side.
on Daniel Stern's narration to be, like memorable and stuff, which is what a lot of people remember of the Wonder Years is Daniel Stern's narration and less Fred Savage. But
they remembered his face.
Come on,
while
what
listening to
TGIF show that's like a sitcom, a family sitcom, and they had like they had like, I think he had Urkelbot at one point, and he transformed into Stefan, like crazy sci-fi stuff, and everyone's like, yeah, that tracks, like because because
personally-
he was that good. Everyone loved him. He's just a staple. Like everyone
I
remembers.
love
him
Urkel
to
too.
this day.
I love Urkel more than
I-
Fred Savage, but he's not as good an actor.
My counterpoint to both those is after those shows, I mean, what happened to like they really like Fred Savage had a decent career, I guess, after the after his Wonder Years and whatnot. And Jaleel, like once again, decent enough, but have any of them really had anywhere near the kind of success that Zendaya's walked into
As a child,
But
definitely.
she
Outstanding actor as an Emmy as a child. Plus, Fred Savage is making a resurgence. He's back. Did he ever
I
leave?
remember him
Is he
as the Austin
back,
Powers.
or is he
Molly.
back?
Moly, moly, moly.
Zendaya, your argument is mainly she grew into a great actor.
I'm not-
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I'm saying she
special with her
was a
at the
great
time.
actor who is now being recognized for being a great actor. You know, she
Yeah,
got
how, like,
that
related-
start with being on like a Disney show, and also just anyone that comes out of being a Disney actor or a Disney child star and isn't an absolute asshole. Props
He's
to
still
them.
acting up a storm,
Props to them.
But she
Jamil.
had-
I saw
She
that.
had Disney
Fred
behind
Savage is
her.
acting.
You know, she had Disney, like the weight of Disney to push her forward, which almost Disney kids actually ended up going forward, regardless of whether they were good or not. So
Fred
you know,
Savage was a child star, didn't go crazy, and kept being successful.
it kind of. I mean, he kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
No, Julio
was
just said he was a
voice of
director, he's
Sonic,
an actor.
Okay,
You
1993,
pointed out that
very
that
first
he went on to be a
voice
director.
of Sonic.
Urkel
and
was
he
a
would
flash
have
in
been-
the pan.
Yeah.
No,
He was
not.
Bart
He was on-
Simpson in glasses
he
and
was on
suspenders.
TV.
Urkel walked in
89
and
to
his
90.
I
The
do
The
that
longest
and
running sitcom, one of the longest running sitcoms of the Family Black Family. It was very popular
Because of Reginald Vell
the
Johnson,
CGI adapt,
his
like,
fine acting, and some other fine actors on that show. It's
Well-
all Fred Savage on the Wonder Years. I mean,
like,
his father's fun. They're good too.
and Daniel Stern. Don't forget, because
Daniel Stern. Daniel Stern is good, but it's his acting
Yeah.
during that. It's
okay.
phenomenal.
I mean, you
phenomenal.
know, it's kind of like a joint effort by the two. I mean, Jaleel White was in there all by himself.
Was he?
was he?
He hid behind those suspenders.
Those were a
I
feature, man. The glasses, the suspenders. the
maintain my
pull-up
point.
Iconic. I
One
want
of
an
these-
Urkel ball.
one of these
Iconic, yes.
actors
Great actor. Jaleel was never
had
even
success
nominated.
beyond just being a child actor. So
I guess our time's up here. This is a tough decision for me, guys. Max, you argued pretty well. Honestly, yours was the only one that I actually had to Google. I didn't know who Zendaya was.
shit.
Oh, and then I was like, oh no, that's like Spider-Man's girlfriend. Okay, I know her from that. And honestly, that's the only thing I know her from. So Davan, you made a great point when you just started out your conversation by saying Zendaya is not even part of the discussion here.
I don't think she is.
Sorry, I'm the young guy. Damn it.
Between Fred Savage, I'm sure you know who Fred Savage and Jaleel White are, though.
I mean, I actually Jaleel White until you said the Urkel line there. I was like, who? And I'm like, oh right, yeah.
Oh, come on, how can
That
You know Urkel. You know Urkel. So
I know Urkel. Yes.
I've watched the Wonder Years, and
It's further back.
Davan, I think you drove it home. I think it was Fred Savage that made that show. So I'm going to give you this point.
Thanks. I missed my point about him acting in an era he didn't even know. It was like it took place in the 60s, right? But interesting.
Okay. Take us
Not a
away.
good start for the new guy.
Good start. Not a good. Well, there's two new guys here, Max, and there's still
more rounds to come.
plenty of time to catch up. So let's move on to the music round. And the question here was, which artist do you think has mastered their craft at the instrument that they play? And we're going to start this round with Jessica.
When I had to think of this, I was trying to think like who's iconic for their instrument. Who do you think of? And the one thing that came to mind was like it's Slash, like the hat, the persona. Like he is you know, he is a character that you recognize. He's been in cartoons. Like, he's just a really recognizable figure. And like, that is built upon amazing guitar skills. Like, you know, everybody knows that riff from Sweet Child of Mine. Like, anyone who's played Guitar Hero or just listens to the music, like, that's him. That's all him. And like, you know, you don't build that persona, that like larger than life personality where he doesn't even talk really. It's just the hair, the hat, without having skill to back it up. Because like most people, like, they look at lead singers, those are the ones that are famous. They remember Freddie Mercury and like all of that. Like, the bands are nothing without them. But really, you think of Guns N' Roses, you think of Slash. Like, that is who you think of, because yeah, he's so talented, he's so skilled in his guitar, and I think yeah, it speaks for itself.
Sounds like a good argument there. So it's time. I think we are going to move on to Max.
Okay, so my answer for this one, it was very quick for me to think of. His name's Matt Bellamy. He's the lead singer for Muse. And when I think someone who has best mastered an instrument, like, your voice is an instrument, whether you think of it as one or not. And he has inarguably one of the greatest controls of ranges in modern music. His ability to hit the lows and highs that like octaves different from each other is incredible. But more than that, he also has he's mastered the piano. He's the lead guitarist for the band, and they have some of the best riffs you'll ever hear in modern rock music. This is a guy that's Juilliard educated. He is an incredible musician from top to bottom. But in terms of mastering one instrument, it's his voice, and there is no one else other than him that has that kind of mastery over their voice.
Thanks for that, Max. Good instrument choice there. I agree. A voice is an instrument. So we're going to move on to Davan.
I can't say I've heard of Max as person. Slash is an okay guitarist when he's not, fall over drunk. He's an okay guitarist. But if you were to ask an even better guitarist than Slash, Eric Clapton, who is the best guitar player of all time, he will say Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson's mastery was so unbelievable and profound that it has become one of the great legends of the 20th century, not just for music, for anything. And his mastery was so inexplicable that even those who knew him saw the need to invoke the supernatural to explain it. You've heard of The Deal with the Devil, songs based on it. Devil Went Down to Georgia, movies that include it, like Crossroads and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It's one of the great legends that he went from a nothing guitar player and musician to the greatest anyone had ever heard, and playing in ways that no one had ever heard and to this day can't be replicated. Eric Clapton himself can't replicate what Robert Johnson did. There is no way to do it. He was possessed, let's just say. And there's never been anyone like it.
Thanks, Davan. Luckily for this round, I know all three artists that were picked here. So honestly, it's going to be who argues their point the best, because I think they're all great answers. So,
all right. So hold on. I want to go in here and start off by saying, well, I do appreciate the persona that is Slash. I have to agree with Devin.
Yeah, he's like, okay.
He's okay. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to go over this a little further in a future question, but like you said, what was the
Prince is possibly the right answer, but Robert Johnson's the right answer.
Welcome to the Jungle. He hates that guitar riff. He hates his own guitar riff. That's what
your biggest hits are unlistenable.
One of the most iconic guitar riffs people always recognize, and it was just him doing like a practice run on his guitar. Like, that's
it wasn't even a practice. It was him doing a joke because he hated the riff so badly, and it was
just a practice session, is what I mean. And everyone's like, "That sounds good. We're gonna make that a song." So,
but like,
even when he's just messing around on the guitar, he makes something that's
Robert Johnson didn't say he sold his soul to the devil. It's literally the only thing people could come up with to explain how good he was, and that myth has lasted for 100 years nearly now.
Now let me ask you this:
he's inspired more musicians than those other two choices could hope to do in their entire lifetimes, and he did it all before the age of 26 when he died. He didn't even have time to mature as a musician, and he was still the greatest guitar player and even like total package singing with
27
there has ever been. 27.
Okay,
27
Matt-
close. 27.
Was
Yeah.
Robert Johnson
Sounds
ever
like
asked to
27.
play? Was it Robert Johnson ever asked to create a song for the Olympics? Because Matt Bellamy
They were
was.
not going to ask someone of Robert Johnson's ethnicity in the South in those days to play for the Olympics.
Well, and that's
Despite all those barriers, he still managed to be the most remembered musician of the 20th century, really, certainly by other musicians who.
I'm just my point being is Matt Bellamy, like I said, so first off, I'm going to throw you a quick number here. The fact that Matt Bellamy can hit over 3 octaves difference with his voice.
I can do that.
Sorry?
I can do that.
Yes, but we're talking high octaves, like high octaves dropping down. Like that's pretty freaking incredible. Between that, the fact that he's the lead
and I am not on this list, so I think you're just disqualified, your guy.
I'm sorry, but are you a platinum level artist as well? Because that's what Matt Bellamy is.
Slash has a Star in the Walk of Fame, Rock
Bronze
Hall of
level.
Fame, Hollywood
I'm a
Walk
Star
of
Trek
Fame.
But yeah, the song "Survival" was written because they were asked by IOC to write a song for the opening ceremony for the London Olympics. Like he was approached personally because of
those big events. Just choose.
Does anyone remember that song?
They had Madonna one year, I think. It's like they're not going for the greatest musicians of all time for these.
Yeah, but it's the fact that like they went to him. He was the one that reached out. They went to him.
He was probably available.
Slash was in the Phineas and Ferb movie. Come on, like that's that.
Slash wasn't under
the Phineas and
consideration.
Ferb movie. Is that what you just said? Is that your argument?
He was in the Phineas and Ferb movie. Come on,
that's great. It still doesn't make him a great guitarist.
Kind-hearted woman, come in my kitchen. These songs have never been matched.
Awards like Muse has won awards at the Grammys for their songwriting abilities.
The Grammys didn't consider individuals such as Robert Johnson back in those days.
Writing abilities,
if they existed. I don't know when the Grammys.
You know what? But that just means that like my guy has a large amount of accolades because he's been so well recognized. I'm just saying like they can easily give Grammy. They could have given a Grammy to your guy if
there's no debate here. They didn't do that. He had to sing into a corner for amplification and into what looked like a tin can to record his but his entire, I have it on LP, his entire catalog.
Okay, we don't
worn out.
We don't need to discuss this one anymore. They're all fantastic choices. Kind of different genres, different types of music. They all could have been argued well, but I don't think anyone actually went after Davan's choice. Nobody gave me an argument why Robert Johnson wasn't great. Nobody told me. I heard why Slash isn't great. I heard why Matt Bellamy isn't great. So this one's going to Davan.
That makes me happy because he doesn't get enough.
I couldn't really argue with that one. I was like, oh man, yeah.
My backup was gonna be Robert Plant, and that would have been.
I wanted to choose Lizzo, but I thought everyone would come after me.
Oh yeah, 100%. I was absolutely shut that down.
Well, I'm a flute player, and she actually made flute players cool. So
a flautist.
Yes.
If anyone would have chosen Les Claypool from Primus, I would have just put them through to the next round.
You told me that, and I was like, "That's cheating, man. I could have cheated."
He's not even the best bass player.
Choose to disagree.
Marcus Miller.
We'll move on to the history round here.
History or sports?
I shouldn't be arguing with the host.
We're okay. We'll do sports next. Let's go in order. Let's go in the proper order. Interesting question. Who is the greatest WWE wrestler of all time? And I believe, is it Davan's turn to start this one?
I think it's I think it is. Yeah, he's up first. All right.
Well, I guess my theme here this morning, I should say, is myths, legends and myths. More so legends in this case, but perhaps even a mythical figure. It's Andre the Giant. He was as big a legend, forgive the pun, as one can be as a professional wrestler. His exploits in the ring were bigger than life. His bigger than life persona outside of the ring have been told and retold time and time again. Even Hollywood came calling to put him in the Princess Bride, and he's beloved by another whole group of people for that movie. You couldn't take your eyes off of Andre the Giant, even in his older years. When his health was failing him, you just had to stare at him. And no one had endured as much to do that profession than he did. He was in constant pain. He had to use a bathtub as a toilet. Like, he had to suffer so much, and he was so dedicated that no wrestler has ever done that since.
Thanks, Davan. Fantastic answer there. Let's move on to Jessica and see what her pick is.
Best WWE wrestler, I would say best wrestler of all time, it has to be Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho, he debuted in 1999, and he's just kept running. Like, he's in his 50s and he's still going, and he's constantly reinventing himself. Time after time, he comes up with great gimmicks. He's Y2J, like Raw is Jericho. Now he's, the demo god. He's got his own line of like champagne, the bubbly. He makes catchphrases. Everyone's behind him. Everyone loves to see Chris Jericho, and that's because he doesn't like rest on his laurels. He never just sits there and sits in his gimmick. He's constantly reinventing himself, and he's also constantly giving back to the wrestling community. He's pushing younger talent. He is always striving to do like better for the wrestling community, and that's what I think makes him one of the best wrestlers of all time.
Thanks for that. So we have Andre the Giant and Chris Jericho so far. So let's hear Max's take on this.
With all due respect, you're both wrong. The best wrestler of all time had 21 straight victories at WrestleMania. He is a multiple-time World Heavyweight Champion and has one of the most iconic openings and walkouts to any wrestler of all time. The Undertaker. This is a guy that he was a big man that had the finesse of someone half his size. This is a guy who was in matches that revolutionized the way we see wrestling. We had your Hell in a Cell, your what was the one with the bag? Oh my God, I can't remember now. The Punjabi prison match. This is a guy that was willing to try anything and was the face of the WWE for almost 20 plus years. Like, how can you argue against that? He was one of the biggest names in wrestling the entire time he was there. You can't argue against him. He had a career that went across decades where he was never not known, where he was never one of the front and center guys.
I'll gladly debate The Undertaker.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I hope someone.
Sorry, it's not Chris Jericho. He
almost as good as Hulk Hogan.
Chris Jericho is he's not even a main guy. He wasn't the main guy when he first came in.
Professional wrestling is not a sport. And also, 21 straight victories is a storyline. Championship belts is a prop. Andre the Giant didn't need these things. He was just a spectacle of entertainment, and that's what professional wrestling is.
Andre the Giant was a gimmick. Andre the Giant was a big guy.
Andre the Giant was not a gimmick.
What was he actually like?
He actually was a giant.
He walked around. He could hit a guy, and because he was big, they got the guy to go down. And then,
no! In his younger days, he was more athletic than the other people
for
he faced.
Dwayne Johnson, Hollywood came knocking for John Cena. Hollywood came knocking for Dave Bautista. Like, Hollywood knocking on your door does not mean you're a fantastic wrestler. That just means
the Undertaker is a prop. That's the Undertaker has been. Like, I'm a guy who's like, what? I dig up bodies at night.
No, but okay, the Undertaker. Here's my thing about Chris Jericho. The Chris Jericho he's still giving. He's still doing well. The Undertaker has been sitting on that gimmick for 20 freaking years. And
because it's a gimmick that works. It's a gimmick.
Hold on. That streak, some of those matches weren't good. And he dropped it to Roman freaking Reigns. Like, come on. Like, that streak, whatever. And also, he doesn't give back to the wrestling community. He shows up like clockwork a few weeks before WrestleMania, and he comes in, and a lot of the times he literally, one of the WrestleManias, he buried literally and figuratively AJ Styles, a younger wrestler, an up-and-coming wrestler, and he buried him. He doesn't care about pushing young talent. He's there to collect a paycheck, and then off he runs. After WrestleMania, you won't see him again until frickin' March or April, whenever he starts to promo again. He's there to collect a paycheck.
Sitting
on that gimmick
but when he was in his late
forever.
40s, early 50s, yes, he was slowing down. No shit. But
So was
yeah,
Andre
like,
the Giant.
how
Andre the Giant had a
debate
disease,
guy?
though.
This is a guy that created the Hell in a Cell, one of the most infamous matches in wrestling.
Andre the
history.
Giant was the Hell in the Cell because you felt like you were in a cell when you were in there with him.
He was. I love Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant was the first person ever inducted into the then WWF Hall of Fame. In fact, they basically created it for him because and no one is even going to talk about the Undertaker like 40 years from now. Andre the Giant is going to outlive in his legend
Hall of Fame.
all of these characters. Plus, he could drink them both under the table by himself.
Multiple-time world heavyweight champion. This is a guy who
nothing. Vince McMahon hands those out like candy. Like, yeah, Jericho was also the undisputed WWF champion. He was the final holder of the WCW World Heavyweight Champion. He had unified the WWF and World titles by defeating Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock in the same night. So, like, that is, prestigious as well. And also, he's still here. He's still relevant. You have to watch an AEW match. You hear people.
Andre the Giant doesn't get to be relevant.
Judas, when he comes out in the ring, he helped build a competition against the WWE right now in AEW. He gave his name weight to help build AEW to what is he now, and he's constantly putting out great matches still now in his 50s, and he doesn't have to bury young talent to do that. He has his own freaking wrestling crews. Come on, he's constantly elevating people.
If we're talking about relationships between wrestlers, Andre the Giant commanded more respect from the rest of the talent than anyone ever had.
Terrorized the locker room.
Big John Studd had it coming. He had it coming.
People behind the scenes.
Everyone knows he had it coming.
Jericho is a wonderful person. Everyone likes to work with him. Everyone has nothing but nice
steal people's acts.
All of the young wrestlers today, Kevin Owens, MJF, everyone names Jericho as their inspiration. Everyone.
I don't even know who those people are, but everyone knows who Andre the Giant is.
Well, yeah,
everyone knows who Andre,
and they always
whether
will.
You like him or not, everyone knows.
There will never be a figure like that in wrestling.
You know,
even Hulk Hogan, who's maybe the other biggest star,
hear those bells. You know exactly who's coming down that ramp. You know what's about to happen.
I know exactly because he's doing the same shit for the last 20 freaking years.
It's iconic. It's one of the most iconic things.
Let the gimmick rest in peace.
Andre the Giant.
Seems like this is a question that you guys like to argue. Good,
Jeff.
Exactly, Jeff. Exactly.
Max,
thank you, sir. May I have another?
Good point there. Jeff also made a good point. The Undertaker, you didn't even hear him talk. He
didn't need to.
He went, that was it. And they needed Paul Bearer, and that was the Undertaker's gimmick for the entire time, his entire wrestling career. Now, Jessica, most of your arguments has been that Chris Jericho is still relevant. I wouldn't even agree that the WWE is still relevant.
That's what he's in AEW now, because he's constantly moving. If you don't know AEW, then you don't know wrestling right now. Sorry, I'm sorry.
I know who Chris Jericho is, but I think that everybody knows Andre the Giant, and that's why Davan is pulling away with the lead this week.
I'm sorry. No. I love Andre the Giant, but Jericho is wrestling right now.
Right now, but Andre the Giant can't be wrestling right now. He's dead.
Yeah, but he's also
that's not fair.
He was a persona.
He had a disease.
It wasn't about the wrestling. It was about who he was. But I mean, I love Andre the Giant, but
he could drink them under the table. That's really the
Jericho actually wrestles. That's what I'm going to say.
Andre the Giant was a big guy, and that was it.
So just to recap the score here, we have Davan in the lead with 3, Jessica with 1 point, and Max still unable to get his first point.
2 rounds left.
You can have one of mine.
Wow. Can you feel the love?
We're going to move on.
That's the musical you should have went with, The Lion King.
I didn't even think of that.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna move on to the history round now. So, what a nostalgic gaming console do you think would still be fun to play today? And I believe this round it is Jessica's turn to start.
It has to be. It has to be the N64. Like, such a good console. Who doesn't remember playing GoldenEye, the giant heads, the the gimmicks you tried to get over on your friend, shooting people in the ass, and oh my god, so many good titles. But really, the number one game, Ocarina of Time, the best Zelda game of all time. Arguably, nothing's come close until Breath of the Wild recently. Like, oh my god, what an iconic game! What a fun time! So amazing. Everyone remembers playing that. And if you didn't, you missed out. Yeah, but Mario Kart 64, Mario Party, Super Mario Brothers, Banjo-Kazooie. There's so many great titles on this system, and it would be so great to play. I love a lot of the other systems, but I don't think I would have as much enjoyment and long time playing as I would playing the N64 again.
Thanks for that answer, and I think we're going to move on to Max.
So mine here, I am going to go with the Sega Genesis. Unfortunately, Sega wasn't able to continue the strength that they went into the 80s and 90s with the Genesis systems and their consoles in general. But games like Sonic are just so iconic, and like, tell me you wouldn't go back and play Sonic for hours on end, running through the doing the loops and getting all the rings and beating up on Professor Ed, or Dr. Ed, oh my god, I can't remember. Wow. Bad with names. But we also have games like Aladdin that started the whole movie video game crossover concept. Joe Montana Football brought the whole concept of sports games to life. And then Sega Genesis was where we got the first more uncensored Mortal Kombat game. You're telling me you wouldn't go back and play an uncensored Mortal Kombat game with your friends, trying to button mash or get those great combos? Like that, hours and hours of fun be had right there.
Thanks for that, Max. So the last one here is going to be Davan.
Dr. Robotnik.
I'm coming after you, Max. It does turn out that you only need 16 bits to make the perfect video game system and video games, but that is not on the Sega Genesis. Are we talking about blood in a Mortal Kombat game? Because that would have to be the entire argument. You know what sucks? Having to hit 2 buttons to high kick. It's Sega Genesis Mortal Kombat is unplayable, so let's not even talk about that. But there are great fighting games on the Super Nintendo, the greatest system of all time, and still the system that I play the most to this day. For the first time, I am playing A Link to the Past, and I'm surprised at how immersive it can be. Not just for 16 bits, but I'm enjoying it more than Ocarina of Time, which I do love. But Nintendo 64 was a transitional system. That's what led to so many clunky games with the controls and even the graphics. A lot of it was really clunky. I mean, I loved it, but the 16-bit era was kind of the end of the original retro era before they started to do CDs, and 64 decided not to. But the racing games, you've got Mario Kart, the Top Gear games, the fighting games, you've got the first Killer Instinct, Street Fighter 2.
Thanks for that. And I guess, Jessica, they've both picked 16-bit systems, and you haven't. So what's your argument against those?
You have to say what's fun, what's nostalgic to play today. And there's a lot of nostalgia with those. There's definitely a lot of nostalgia, and I love a lot of those. But like, what's still fun to play? What's something, I mean, you have saves. like if I'm going to play something, I want something I can actually save, put down, and come back to. And yeah, there's so many good genres on here. GoldenEye is great. Ocarina is great. We have Mario 64, and it had 3D racing instead of like 2D racing, and really opened that up. And like, it was great for multiplayer. You had the 4 split screens. You couldn't have that before. Like, it was mostly just you or 2 players. This one, you had 4 players you could play against. Mario Party was great. I remember getting blisters from playing some of the games by going like this. It is fun to play, and I can guarantee probably one of the only of these 3 that if you gave it to a kid today who doesn't have the nostalgia factor for it, would still probably enjoy playing the N64 over the other 2.
I'll tell you why that's not true. Because they will find N64 so clunky that it'll seem unplayable to them. Whereas Super Nintendo was perfection of the 16-bit genre. The games, N64 wins the Mario Kart for sure. The best Mario Kart is on N64. But the rest of the games, when you compare them, do not. The fighting games on 64 are terrible. The best fighting game of all time, Street Fighter 2, whichever one you like best, Turbo. It's the best fighting game of all time. Mortal Kombat 3 is one of the best fighting games of all time. The first Killer Instinct, one of the best fighting games of all time. The racing games, yes, you've got Mario Kart, but the Cruising USA, like, you got the original F-Zero and the Top Gears, and Donkey Kong Country is more immersive than any game on the N64 and on the Genesis, which again isn't really in this conversation because the buttons are horrible and the cord is too short. You have to sit right in front of the TV. It's unhealthy to play a Sega Genesis.
But that's the nostalgia factor, is being right up against that TV, playing with those crappy controls. Like if we're talking like nostalgia, come on, you can't take away from the design of the console. But it
How
also
about Mario World?
I would just like to go take a little another shot at the N64
3D version.
Sure, the N64 had some solid games, but arguably one of the worst design controllers of all time. Why in God's name did we need 3 prongs? That was
almost as bad as the Sega controller.
But at least the Sega controller had
the best controller for hand comfort ever designed.
But it's visually interesting. Like you look at it, it's like
cool. It's visually interesting, but they were like, you can't. Who's got 3 hands? I'm not using my dick playing Sega or an N64.
You guys don't have Ocarina buttons on yours.
Speaking of Ocarina,
on yours.
Without Super Nintendo, there would be no Ocarina of Time. The system that made RPGs popular in North America is the Super Nintendo with Chrono Trigger, one of the best games ever.
Final Fantasy 3, Fantasy Star did a great job of helping create that
Super Mario RPG.
Sorry?
These are all Super Mario RPG. They're all so playable. All these Super Nintendo games I've mentioned, each one is still as fun today as it was back then, except for the beat 'em ups. Beat 'em ups kind of
true with the N64. Who wouldn't want to play GoldenEye? I'm sorry. Ask any of your friends from high school or junior high.
Have you played GoldenEye recently?
Yeah,
it's unplayable. You can't even see what's going on.
GoldenEye.
You can't even see what's going on.
At the time, really cool game. Go back and play it now.
It doesn't hold up. N64 does not hold up.
Yeah.
Perfect dark.
Even Sega holds up better than 64.
God forbid someone picks an odd job, and then the whole game's just absolutely thrown out the window.
Everything you guys love about video games started with Super Nintendo. If not Nintendo.
Hold on. Sega had a lot to say about that.
Name 3 games people know from Sega Genesis, not counting Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sorry?
Name 3 games from Sega Genesis everybody here will know that's not Sonic the Hedgehog.
Fantasy Star, Mortal Kombat.
Never heard of Fantasy Star.
Fantasy Star, that's one of the greatest JRPGs of all time.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I gotta say, if I was gonna go with a Sega system, you'd go with the Sega Master System. Like,
Sega Master is good, but we're talking if we're talking retro gaming consoles, I think of Sega Genesis when I'm thinking retro.
Whenever a game was on Sega or Super Nintendo, other than Blood and Mortal Kombat, the Super Nintendo version was so much better. It made the Sega version unplayable. It's just always so much better. The sound, the graphics, the playability, it was all so much better.
Thanks, guys. These are wonderful arguments from everybody here. Max,
I don't like when you start with me. This is never good. It just means I'm not getting another point, damn it.
You agreed that your controllers were crappy and you had to sit close to the TV.
Right.
But that was part of the fun.
It's not part of the fun. It's not part of the fun. Jessica, I like your arguments. I like it that it is the first system that I know of where you could have 4 players.
Super Nintendo could do that
with an adapter.
Yeah, and it only had like 3 games, but it's still.
But you know what? I hate to do this, but I have to give it to Davan again. He made the best argument here. Like.
Yes, feed your hate.
I agree that the N64 was clunky. I don't think that the kids would enjoy it as much now as they would playing the Super Nintendo.
I will say I did ask for Super Nintendo, but Davan got it first.
He did.
I got fast on all of these.
Yeah, I was like, well, crap. And then
Super Nintendo was so good.
I don't know. N64 to me doesn't feel retro yet. Like, give it another 5-10 years.
I'm sorry, we're old. I hate to break it to you, but it's retro.
I mean, if we're calling N64 retro, I could have called PlayStation 1 retro too.
It is.
You could have. They're around the same era.
That was one of the comments.
Almost 30 years old, man. We're old.
Jesus,
now.
is it actually?
Getting there.
Yeah.
Getting there.
20 something.
Should have gone with PlayStation.
20 something.
Damn.
Okay. Yeah, I knew Genesis wasn't going to win. It sucked.
Good, you have an
You
open
guys are
mind,
welcome to the point you're about to receive in the next argument.
Oh, I was gonna say the same thing. So okay.
Wild card question. I guess this is Max's chance to redeem himself. Finally, we've already got Davan committed into the speed round with his 4 points. So
Let me just sit this one out. It's not going to be a good argument.
Well, yeah, and then Jessica and Max would have to have like a tiebreaker if Max gets this point.
Right.
If Jessica gets it, she just moves on.
Yeah. And if Davan gets it, he's going to have a big lead going into the the final.
And yes, exactly. All right.
Okay. So the wild card question this week is because of 80s hair bands is one of my favorite genres of music. Who do you think did that the best? And I believe we start this one. We start this one with Max.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that.
This one was really hard for me because I hate 80s hair bands. But if I had to pick one that is passable, it's got to be Guns N' Roses, I guess. Like the catalog is probably one of the most well known out of all 80s hair bands. Jessica made a great point earlier. Thank you about Slash being one of the most recognizable guitarists of all time. And having one of the most recognizable guitar riffs of all time. With
Grammy's only passable. It's only passable. He's only passable guitar player.
No. You said one of the best. No. You said one of the best. Sweet Child of Mine is one of the most they have quite a few of these songs that have transcended the ages. So I'm gonna go with Guns N' Roses.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for your pick there, Max. And it's a good choice. We got to move on to Davan.
Well,
Jeff, I don't know.
I mean, I agree that Guns N' Roses is still around, but it's because it's plagued the airways because it's corporate rock essentially, and there's 90s as they are 80s, I would say. And yeah, passable. But their hits are unlistenable now. Like if I hear Sweet Child of Mine or Paradise City again. Anyway, my argument is for Kiss. And they started in the 70s, but they created hair metal. They did, there was no hair metal in the 70s, but they were doing it. They had the hair, they had the spectacle and the okay music. But there's a hole in the ozone layer. I'm going to say mostly because of the 80s hair metal scene. So if you're going to damage the environment that much, go big. Don't go big and make it worth it. Go the full face paint, the costumes, everything. I mean, why just damage the ozone layer just to make your hair big? It doesn't make sense. But Kiss, made a career out of it, and they're still going to this day. They played shows during COVID. So there you have it. Kiss.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that answer, Davan. And let's hear Jessica's choice.
I had to look up what an 80s hair band was to clarify. And the one that popped out at me the first, obviously, is Bon Jovi. I mean, I don't know 80s metal, but I know Bon Jovi's songs. Living on a Prayer, You Give Love a Bad Name, Bad Medicine. They've got 16 albums, studio albums, 5 compilations, 3 live albums, 100 million records sold worldwide. One of the best-selling American rock bands of all time. And everyone knows these songs. Everyone knows them, regardless of whether you know Aries Hair Metal, which I do not. So the fact that I know all of these songs just speaks for itself.
What songs, and did those songs you're thinking of come out in the 90s? The Bon Jovi and Guns N' Roses are more of a 90s band. And yeah, Kiss was around in the 70s. But they kept going through all that, and they adapted with the times. They were doing 80s hair metal in the 80s.
I looked up Kiss. They're actually considered glam rock, not 80s hair metal.
Oh, God, I can't tell the difference between those two things.
For this category. So I do love Kiss, but apparently, technically, not an 80s hair band. They're considered glam rock.
Bon Jovi's more of a country rock band.
They became,
there's nothing metal about
them. They
them.
won a country music award later on in the 90s.
Exactly.
But they have been here from 83 to present. They're one of the ones that didn't break up. They're still making music. They released an album in 2020 called 2020.
Guns N' Roses is a 90s rock
They're still together. And Guns N' Roses broke up after, in 96? 85 to 96, that's all they made it. And let's face it, Slash is the only one that anyone's heard of after that. Let's like.
Oh, Axl
Well,
Rose.
people try to forget Axl Rose, right?
But like Bon Jovi's still going. They're still going strong. And Slippery When Wet
are
is
they?
one of, like the classic. Yeah, they're still around. I just said they just released an album in 2020.
Thank you very much, though,
Thanks,
for
Jeff.
making a quick point. One, Kiss is glam rock,
Yeah, look it up.
hair band. Bon Jovi is more of a country rock than anything else. So
They
really, the
played
only hair
country
band we've
rock
got
in the
left
90s,
here.
2000s.
And I'd like to point out that such great songs as "Welcome to the Jungle," "Paradise City," and "Mr. Brownstone."
Do you want to hear those songs
and
ever
Sweet
again?
Child of Mine,
Ever again?
all done in the 80s. Move to the City, Patience, also 80s songs. So the only band here, as to best of my knowledge, that actually fits the 80s hair band persona or moniker that we've been asked to debate about is Guns N' Roses.
Think about the ozone layer. Why do you guys hate the planet?
Like, if you look up
I
top
don't
10,
hate the planet. I just
Bon
hate this
Jovi was
question.
constantly I looked up a lot of 80s bare hands lists, and Guns N' Roses is never in the top of those lists. Like, and Living on a Prayer, You Give Love a Bad Name, those are from the 80s. Those are part of those are classic. It's Slippery When Wet. It's their classic album from the 80s. So regardless of what you say about them being country music later on, these are 80s songs, and they're iconic, and everyone sings them right now in karaoke still.
I think Jeff just
not
gave
as
us
slippery
3
as your
better answers
argument.
than any of us have.
As I said, I don't know 80s hair bands.
Yeah.
These are the ones I recognize.
I know Bon Jovi's
and
a
the ones
country
I can
rock
argue
band.
with.
Yeah,
Come on,
I would consider Bon Jovi more country rock as well. But like
everybody knows that.
Guns
Everyone
N'
wants to
Roses
sing
is
that.
the closest to an actual hair band as we've got here. The songs that we all recognize are out of the 80s. The songs we all recognize are out of the 80s. How can you say they're not a hair band? Have you seen pictures of them from
Have
when
you
they
seen
started?
Bon Jovi from the 80s?
Hey, Chris, I don't think any of us picked an 80s hair band. Can you get this point?
I looked up lists. These are on the list. Bon Jovi was on the list. Guns N' Roses, not like mostly honorable mention. Come on, Bon Jovi.
Can we get a definition between hair metal and glam metal?
Yeah, sure. I can work on that.
Oh, sweet.
Kiss is glam rock. I looked this up because I would have chosen Kiss, but apparently they are not included on the list of 80s hair metal.
I considered Kiss.
I don't know. Bon
glam
Jovi's
rock
pretty
too.
glamorous. And Slash, when he's sober, pretty glamorous.
When you search, when
he's
you search for hair metal on Wikipedia, it says glam metal, also known as hair metal or pop metal, is a subgenre of heavy metal, which features pop-influenced hooks and guitar riffs and borrows heavily from the fashion and image of 70s glam rock.
So from the 70s, glam rock, like Kiss. So you're saying Kiss
They have a precursor
paved the way and then
but they're
continued to
not
be
an 80s hair metal band.
80s glam rock. Wow, we're talking about the originators here. Wow.
But not part of the category. Not part of the category.
Bands listed here include Bon Jovi, Def Leppard,
Where's the
Quiet
one
Riot,
mentioned?
Nirvana.
I'm sorry, where's Guns N' Roses?
Hold on,
Where's
hold
Guns
on,
N'
hold
Roses
on.
on that list?
Did you just say
Nobody should be
Nirvana?
rewarded for misspelling their own last name.
Did you just say Nirvana was considered glam rock?
They're not, and they were not from the 80s either. So
Yeah.
From the
They're in
They're
the glam
grunge.
metal category, or sometimes are, or hair metal.
the internet is sometimes wrong.
No.
The other thing is Chris has his own opinions on things. You also have to
Yes.
get used to.
But
Not
yeah,
everything's as foolproof as my arguments on the internet.
if you look at like one of the big things, if you go into like a deep dive on like music musical theory, especially like with bands and whatnot, you'll notice that genres have like your starting, your highs, your lows, and your walkout, right? And Guns N' Roses was peak hair band in the late 80s.
Like them. I actually like listening to Bon Jovi. Most people like listening to Bon Jovi. That's why it's still karaoke classics. I mean, people don't sing karaoke. When was the last time you heard someone sing "Welcome to the Jungle" in karaoke? Last time I remember hearing "Welcome to the Jungle" was on that Simpsons episode.
You know what? I'm gonna go to karaoke and sing "Welcome to the Jungle" just for that. And maybe get some "Sweet Child of Mine" going too.
As a gardener myself, I can tell you 100% certainty you should never mix Guns and Roses. First the ozone layer and now Guns and Roses. I mean, when will it end?
When the world accepts them as hair
Bon
bands.
Jovi, very slippery when wet, and that's
Everyone loves Kisses.
a great motto for the current climate crisis, because that's what we're all
Okay, I think we can wrap this up. And Davin, I think I'm going to.
They didn't start with me.
I didn't start with Max. They made some good points against you. That it's glam rock. That it wasn't really the 80s. I mean, they were still around in the 80s, but they started in the 70s.
I respect your decision, and they're tearing apart of my argument.
Now, Jessica and Max, you were trying to argue against each other that neither band is 80s hair band. I consider them both 80s hair bands. So,
well, I didn't. I just
Guns
said
N'
mine
Roses
was.
is a contender. Bon Jovi is a contender. Like what I'm not happy about Max is he didn't even bother to mention their album Appetite for Destruction. Tell us that it came out in 1988.
But I mentioned that the songs are like "Welcome to the Jungle," "Night," Mr. Brownstone, "Paradise City," "Sweet Child of Mine." Those are all out of the 80s. Like I just didn't mention the actual album.
Okay, it came out in 1988, and Jessica mentioned the album "Slippery When Wet." All the songs that came off that album, definitely an album released in the 80s. I think 1986 or maybe even before that. So Jessica's getting this point. Sorry, Max.
I didn't think I was winning that one to begin with. when I came out swinging with, I hate 80s music or 80s hair bands. So
yeah,
the real losers are the people who go and look up these bands
round,
afterwards.
But this was not one of the ones I thought I would win. So yeah.
All right, so that means that unfortunately Max is eliminated from the speed round. We hope that Max can stick around and still give his opinions about who's doing better in the speed round. We have the private chat over there. You can type what you like in there.
Yeah, maybe Max, if you can just turn off your camera for this, that would probably be the
okay.
All right, and let Chris now take us into speed round. All right, here we go.
So going into the speed round, there are a possible 6 points to pick up here. So it's still anybody's game, but we do have Davan ahead currently 4 and Jessica with 2. Like I said, these questions are going to be a lot easier. It's just the first one who jumps in and says their answer out loud gets that answer. The other person has to pick somewhere else.
You get 30 seconds. You get 30 seconds in this round, and then it'll be only a minute and a half for the argument round or rebuttal round.
Okay, let's start with the first question in music. Where is it better to watch a movie, at home or in the theater?
At home.
Theater.
You get home, and you got 30 seconds.
For one, I make better popcorn in the theater, and I don't charge you $20 for it. I also don't charge for water. TVs at home are plenty big, and sound systems are great now. Theaters are becoming irrelevant, as we've seen. They may or may not bounce back from the current pandemic. We'll see. But you can have your blankets. The seats at the theaters are so uncomfortable. Some people may say the crowd at the theater makes it better, but I don't know. I want to see what I'm watching. It's not a sporting event. I don't need cheering and stuff at a movie, I just like to relax at home, eat my non-$20 popcorn or whatever I like.
Okay, thanks, Davan. And I guess you have to choose theater, Jessica.
I don't mind. I love theater. I mean, COVID, one of the things that made me sad was not going to the theater. I love going to the theater, and I have such good memories. I love the clapping. I love it. I mean, one of my best memories was going to the theater. I'd never seen Star Wars before. The re-release, whatever you think of it, was the first time I'd watched A New Hope. And when the Death Star blew up, everyone stood up and cheered. And one of my defining memories of going to the movie, and one of my favorite recently, even watching the Marvel movies when Thor showed up in Avengers, the lightning came down, everyone cheered. It's like a going together with other people. It's amazing. It's fun to experience these things with other people. Yeah.
Thanks, Davan. Do you want to argue any of those points?
You can watch a movie with other people at home. The thing is, you get to choose who those people are.
It's a collective experience. I mean, that's like saying going and seeing sports. We'll just watch sports at home. It's why bother going to a football game? Why gotta go to a baseball game? I could just watch it at home on the TV.
Sports are also better at home on the TV.
I mean, yeah, but why do people
At a
go?
live
Because
event, you
they
can't even
love
see.
the crowd experience. They love the cheering. And honestly, I love the $20 popcorn. It's one of the things I love so
It's
much.
okay.
The flavor
You've
is
never had
good.
mine.
It's great. Oh man, whatever that stuff that they pretend is butter is amazing. I can't say
You
no
can
to
get
it.
butter, but you actually have to ask specifically for butter. What kind of organization is this? Like,
Oh, I like the fake stuff, man. The real butter, it just makes me feel like I'm eating lobster. But you know what?
well, that's and here in Nova
It's
Scotia,
accessible.
we
It's
respect
accessible.
the
Not
lobster.
everyone can afford surround sound and giant TVs at home. Accessible, going to the theater, it's still cheaper than having a giant screen TV. Not everyone can afford that, but a lot of people can afford to go to the movies at least once.
You could
And,
go to
it's a
3
great
movies at the
experience.
theater or buy a big screen TV.
No, not everyone can afford a big screen TV. Come on, these things are like thousands of dollars.
They do if they go to the
movie ticket
theater.
is $12, and you can sneak in your own food. Let's face it, everyone snuck in their own food. My friend made a sandwich in the front row once. Like,
So now we're condoning dishonest
people want
practices
to.
just to enjoy something when you could just be at home being an honest
Not
citizen
everyone can
and enjoying the
afford to
movie.
watch stuff at home. Not everyone can afford to watch stuff at home. Like, big screen TVs are expensive, man. Like, you know,
I think
like,
everybody has a
small
screen
TV.
now, pretty much. Especially if you're going to
Oh,
waste
man.
that much money. No one's going to spending $20 on popcorn if you can't afford a TV is probably not a
You can
great
sneak in your food.
investment.
That's why I said you can sneak in your food.
Oh,
My friend made a sandwich.
Time's up for this.
We were
one.
talking about how great their food was.
I know,
I
but if you
remember.
can't afford it, you can't
Now you have
afford
to
it,
sneak
man.
your own in when you can just stay
If
home.
you want to, if you
Well,
want to.
time's up. We've had some other people chime in on Facebook and in the private chat here. And the one I think argued the best here was Jessica. So Jessica gets this one.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to our TV round. Growing up, there we go. I forgot about the bell. Growing up, what was the best Saturday morning cartoon?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay, you're going first, Davan.
Turtles in the Half Shell. Turtle Power. Taught us lessons. Taught us to be powerful. Taught us to be friends. Taught us to love pizza. And always listen to your sensei or parents, interchangeable. It's spun off countless spin-offs, movies, cartoons since then. None that I think are quite as beloved as the original, but if we're not time specific in this question, you could pick any of these turtle shows and they're all quite good, actually. Some of these new ones I've seen as well. Memorable characters.
Okay, Jessica, have you thought of anything yet?
Yes, thank you, Jeff. X-Men, good answer. I was so blanking. I kind of missed my age. I kind of missed like the golden era of cartoons of like the thing. But I remember X-Men. X-Men is amazing. Oh my god, the theme song is amazing. And oh god, what a good cartoon. Like, oh man, I loved Gambit. I had a huge crush. I loved Gambit and Rogue together. Good stories, the whole like to the future thing and coming back and preventing like the apocalypse. And man, you're invested. What a great storyline, long-term storytelling, but also short-term great episodes. So iconic characters, Rogue's voice acting, everyone's voice acting was amazing. And the theme song, like who doesn't get hyped when they hear the X-Men theme song?
Depends if you're listening to the Ninja Turtles theme song.
I'm trying to remember.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay, why is that better than X-Men?
Well, it's spun off better video games and better follow-up cartoons, to be honest. Look, I love the X-Men. I love the X-Men more than I love the Ninja Turtles. By a mile, but not because of that cartoon. The last season's unwatchable. The animation's notoriously not good for the X-Men. It seems good, but so is the Ninja Turtles theme. The story, the animation was better in the Ninja Turtles, and like the camaraderie. It was the X-Men was a lot of the same thing. Everyone always had Cyclops always had the same reaction. Wolverine always had the same reaction. Gambit, every episode was very formulaic, whereas the Ninja Turtles had a lot of weird, crazy stuff going on.
That like the X-Men had a very relevant characters, had women for one. There was actually women in the X-Men.
April O'Neil is a champion of
one woman versus many powerful.
No, there was
women,
Irma.
women.
There was Irma.
I loved Rogue. I thought she was great, but Storm is also great. I mean, Jean Grey, I could take or leave, but there's someone for everyone. I love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but honestly, more for iconic for me was the '80s live action films. That's what I remember when I think of the.
This isn't time specific. There were more X-Men cartoons, but they were all really bad. Whereas the Turtles the subsequent series were all kind of well thought of and are really good stories
the
and
stuff that
expand
came
the
after
character.
the one that you said was the best was actually better than the one.
Well,
that
it's the most thought of, I think, because it spawned it all. Like Turtles existed in comics before then, but nobody cared. It was that cartoon that just made the brand, and it's one of the biggest brands of the 90s.
Speed round. We got to go fast.
Nope.
Okay.
For Turtles.
Reading the comments over here, I just want to say that Max wrote Scooby, and if Max was in this, he might have gotten his first point ever.
Scooby's good.
Oh, I'm on the wrong. I didn't see. Oh, thanks, man.
But the one who argued this one the best. I do love both cartoons. Scooby was better than both of these, but I'm gonna have to go with Davan and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Thank you for the point, but
yeah,
I like X-Men better. As soon as you said X-Men, I was like, no.
I totally blanked. I was thank God for Jeff, where I would have been like, I would have said Captain Planet.
I gotta go take a shower after all those bad things I said about the X-Men.
I know it's tough to fight against things that you like. I love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I don't.
Okay. Music round. Let's keep the speed round going.
Didn't we do music already?
I think he said music, but he meant movies. I think because
we did movies first.
We did movies first.
He said music instead of movies.
Oh, okay. So it's music. Okay.
Yeah, it's music.
So we're on music now. There's a yes or no question. So whoever gets in first gets their pick. Will auto-tune hurt the music industry?
Yes.
No.
Okay, I'm glad you chose different answers. I guess we'll start with Davan. He was in first.
Where do I begin? Autotune is an abomination. I don't get it. It doesn't even sound good. Like if you take a song that has autotune in it, remove the autotune, it's immediately a way better song, sounding like it's from a unique person rather than just the same karaoke robot singing every pop song that comes out these days. Like so many things, all these auto-tune songs are not going to stand the test of time. No one's going to be able to stand to listen to them even 5 years from now.
Okay. Jessica, rebuttal?
I think no. Autotune has run for ages. How can it hurt the music industry? I mean, the question is whether it's more already you like it or not. Will it hurt the music industry? No, and it hasn't hurt the music industry. There's plenty of stars out there that can't sing, but they're popular, and people still listen to them. And also, the more subtle it gets, the more less you notice it. A lot of the old bands that you love and people go on nostalgia tours, actually, they tweak their voices live at the time. I think Spice Girls had that too. So you might not notice it. Like it's not like the robot-y voice that people heard, and it makes the nostalgic experience better for people that maybe aren't up to snuff anymore in their performance techniques and their voices.
Okay.
How does it hurt the music industry? What makes the music industry? Musicians. What's not a benefit to musicians? People who don't have musical talent getting that share of the viewership and the listenership, and it hurts live music. It's the way.
I mean, it's not really. I mean,
musicians are having a hard time making a living and making money right now, and I blame autotune.
I don't think so, man. It's been around for ages, and talent has really never been a version that you needed. Like going back even to the beginnings of music, you didn't need to be talented. You just had to have the right marketing. It's not going to hurt.
I don't think that's true at all.
You
can't hide anything.
Okay, look at rock and roll, man. I mean, I love Elvis Presley, but really he was just stealing like black music and presenting it his own.
True,
so
but he could sing.
He could sing.
We're not talking about who writes the best music here, and if it's Elvis Presley.
He didn't make the music. I'm just saying autotune has been, or something similar has been around forever. Have you ever heard the Red Hot Chili Peppers live? Ugh, oh my God, terrible. But like autotune probably would help them a lot in that case, because a lot of the bands that you think are great and you listen to them album, you hear them live and it's like, ugh. So you know what? But a lot of people, they still are good musicians. They just aren't great live performances. And either whether I like it or not, it hasn't hurt the music industry. It hasn't for the last 30 years it's been around, and it's not going to. So
I would hope a talented doctor would be able to perform live. I think there actually is a bit more of a connection between those two things. A good musician can perform their craft live.
Okay.
They speak about that in the Blues Brothers.
Time's up, guys. A lot of great points here. Jessica, I have seen the Red Hot Chili Peppers live. It was in 1993. I don't know how they have been since then, but they were fantastic. Just let me tell you that.
Oh, I'm just saying I've heard them live now, and the not great.
Thanks to auto-tune, they even ruined the Chili Peppers.
But
time did.
Jessica, despite hurting my feelings on that point, on that point about the Chili Peppers, I'm still giving this point to you because I think you argue better. It's not going to affect the music industry.
I agree. The music industry will persist, but I do think all the songs are bad.
Oh yeah, I'm not morally saying
songs are bad. Yes, but I don't think
it's disappointing when you show up to the concert and you're like, oh god, why don't they sound any good?
So we have got a close match going here now with 3 questions left. We have Davan at 5 and Jessica with 4 now. Close race. Okay.
Sorry.
Under the sports round.
Oh God.
I think someone did touch on this a bit earlier, but I'm going to just ask it as a yes or no question right now. Is pro wrestling a real sport?
No.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, glad you chose opposite answers. But Davan, you did say no first, so let's hear your argument.
Real sports aren't scripted. Next question.
Okay.
You know what the Toronto Maple Leafs don't say to the Montreal Canadiens before the game? What moves do you want to do, and who wins?
It depends.
It's barely sports entertainment, which is the thing they throw around. It's not even that. It's just like slippery dudes in underwear, like dancing and putting on a show. It's not a sport. It's less of a sport than other things people call into question as sports.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Like darts.
Sports has a wider definition than team sports. There's lots of sports.
Yeah.
You have a sports athletic body, gymnasts and stuff. That's scripted. That's all that stuff. Figure skating, that's scripted. I mean, that has a beginning, middle, and end, but that doesn't mean the athleticism is not there. And the same with professional wrestling. These people put their bodies on the line every day. You take a choke slam from Mader Duda and you tell me that is not hard. What these people do is hard. You see like a tope out the ring, going off the freaking top of the steel cage. Yeah, so it may be scripted, but what these people do, what these professionals do, and what they have to do, you can see a wrestler who doesn't keep up like the Undertaker, and someone who is at the top of their game like the Millard. Like, it is a sport, and you
can be athletic and not partake in a sport. Dancers are athletic. Gymnasts, you say it's scripted. It's not scripted. They have their routines, but the competition is between different people, and that their interactions are not scripted. Their finalities in the competition are not scripted.
Even if the
there's literally nothing you can say about professional wrestling that makes it a sport other than like the dudes and the ladies are jacked.
Between the Penta brothers and the Young Bucks, like the ladder match or Kenny Omega match and Jericho even.
Yeah, we used to have them in my backyard when I was a kid. We weren't partaking in a sport.
But you don't have.
We were being ridiculous children.
No, these are live.
Whereas people who were training in sports actually had to.
These are people putting their bodies on the line. They're doing flips. They're doing amazing maneuvers with their body, just like a gymnast, just like stuff people watch at the Olympics.
You can become a professional wrestler the literal second after you fail at your sport. Then you become a professional wrestler.
It takes a lot of skill. It is a learned skill. It
sure.
Is
so does being a doctor.
Amazing to watch.
So does being a firefighter. Everything takes. There's a lot of things that take physicality and are hard. It doesn't make it a sport.
It is a sport, regardless of whether it's scripted. It is a sport, and if you watch a really good wrestling match, you can see that it doesn't matter.
But it's not a match; it's a performance.
Calling
it a match. All the things that you could say that make it a sport are just like words they want you to use, but they aren't real. Like there's it's not sports.
What is real? What is real? And I mean, come on.
It's a match. There's no match.
A match.
It's not
okay,
a match.
like basketball.
If you were to look up what a match is in the dictionary, I don't think it'll say something that's scripted between two people.
Time's up here, guys.
Thank you, Jamil.
That was a hot one.
Okay, this is a debate I've been going.
Jamil doesn't get to pick the winner.
Jamil does not get to pick the winner. Max actually here agrees with you, Davan. So
I always like Max.
This is a tough call. This is a tough call, but Jessica, I really liked your argument about the gymnasts and the figure skaters, and that's all scripted. So I'm
competition isn't
point.
Even closer now.
It's even closer. And the questions are going to get weirder.
All right.
That's cool.
You're doing history next, I'm guessing?
We're doing history. You know that's my favorite category, Dave.
Your favorite. Yep, I know.
Yeah. Okay, there's two choices here, so whoever picks theirs first gets it. What invention or discovery changed the world more, electricity or the wheel?
Electricity.
Okay, let's start with you then, Davan.
Now, the argument could be made that without the wheel, we maybe wouldn't have gotten to electricity, and I don't think that's the argument we should focus on here. The wheel led to advancements in agriculture and in transportation, but that is basically the limits of what it's given us. Whereas electricity, the limits are still not known, like what we're going to get because of the inventions of electricity. This very thing we're talking on right now doesn't need wheels, but it's a lot of fun. And thank you, electricity.
Okay, Jessica, you're it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think the wheel. I kind of actually argued my point is that to get to where we are now, like the wheel was like one of the like great inventions. Like it allowed people to move more things around, to create bigger, better things. Like everything that came before was built on that, including like water wheels and, you know, the beginning of electricity. Water power is one of them. Like the wheel, like the Industrial Revolution didn't have electricity.
I argued your point for you because it was such a bad point. The things that it gives us, the transportation, we don't need a wheel for. We can use a boat. We can use an airplane, all because of electricity. Or, you know, wind, but certainly electricity helps a lot. Even the advancements in agriculture you get from the wheel, we could still now, if we skipped the wheel altogether and went right to electricity, we could develop things that don't have wheels that do the agriculture for us. Again, the limits are unknown. We could go to space because of electricity. We could do anything. Electricity just allows more technologies to be made, whereas a wheel is a wheel.
Yeah, but you have to think of what came before and what changed.
I grant you that it came before, but that's
you wouldn't get electricity without the Industrial Revolution, and the Industrial Revolution didn't have electricity, but it did have trains, which ran on tracks with wheels and steam power, and like the wheel was led to what we have today. Like it's like a pyramid.
Did the wheel do that, or did human ingenuity?
The foundation. It's the foundation of what came after. So like you couldn't have yours without the wheel. Like the wheel was necessary, and it changed so much for like from basic down all the way up to the Industrial Revolution. Like this was a necessity and it needed to be there. So I mean, yours is built on the wheel. Like electricity,
it's not built on the wheel. I grant. I would argue that we could get to the electricity without that some caveman or cave lady in like rolling a rock down and being like, oh, that's a wheel. Electricity, we could have figured out. People were harnessing canals and water power. Like it's farther back than the wheel.
Time's up, guys. I realize this was a stupid question because I believe we need both things.
Yeah,
they're both good.
Yeah.
They're both good.
But do we need wheels anymore?
It all comes down to who argued better, and I think I'm going with Davan on this one.
Yeah.
Thank you there.
Okay, final question. And
oh my.
Unless Jessica gets this point.
Oh no.
All right.
Okay, final yes or no question. First one in gets the answer. And this question's being asked on the internet. It's being debated over the internet both ways. Is a hot dog considered a sandwich?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience that sandwiches can be made from every type of bread under the sun. You can have your focaccia, you can have your hot dog bun, you can have, you can have a hamburger bun. A hamburger is still a sandwich as well. Anything I think between, it doesn't have to be like a sandwich between, but wedged into a slice of bread, because even a sub is called a submarine sandwich. It's not complete. You can just shoving stuff in there. Of course, it's like a sub.
Okay. Jessica.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, anything is technically something if you kind of argue enough, but a hot dog is in and of itself, it's its own special category of the hot dog. Like, come on, that's its own thing. It's, it's elevated beyond the category of generic sandwich. It is its own thing. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, you're not gonna go like, let's go to a baseball game and grab a sandwich. Like, no. You want a hot dog. You want a hot dog. Yeah, like it's a hot dog is its own thing. It's its own. It's been elevated. It's been taken to different places. It's amazing, and it's not a sandwich.
People also go to cafes and restaurants and say, you know what, I would like a club. I would like a Reuben. There's a lot of sandwiches that have their own names and stand above that. Like if you have a restaurant that serves lunch, you have to have a good club. You don't have to have a good sandwich. You got to have a good club sandwich. It's its own thing. Just like a hot dog, just like a grilled cheese sandwich.
Technically, it should be 2 pieces of bread. Hot dog is 1 piece of bread, and then you've kind of shoved the dog.
Like a sub.
So yeah, like
a sub, like a hero sandwich, like
but a sub is still a sub if you cut that line. That's just kind of like that's still a sub.
Exactly. The cutting of the bread doesn't really matter.
Dog, if you cut that bun in half and put it one on top of the other, that ceases to become like a hot dog anymore. Like it's integral. Like it's really
that happens halfway through the hot dog anyway, as I recall. I don't remember. I'm a vegetarian, but as I recall, that's how it used to go.
A hot dog, it is really 1 piece of bread. It is 1 piece of bread, not 2 pieces of bread.
There's a lot of sandwiches that aren't called sandwiches. In fact, most of them aren't. Anything between 2 slices of bread or put into slices of bread.
If I put a piece of bread on the top of the earth and one at the bottom, does the earth become a sandwich? No.
Just if you want a fact here, a sandwich is a food typically consisting of vegetables, sliced meat, or cheese placed on or between slices of bread. Or more generally, any dish wherein bread serves as a container or wrapper to another food type.
Like a hot dog. As it wraps around the hot dog. The bread, it wraps around the hot dog. And then you put vegetables. And
vegetables. Who puts vegetables on their hot dog?
Oh, people love sauerkraut on there. That's cabbage. That's
true, but it's like fermented. I mean, it's not vegetable. It's not like cucumber.
Ketchup is made from tomato, and without ketchup, you wouldn't have.
I mean, ketchup is not technically fruit vegetable anymore. It's 0 nutritional value.
Okay, time's up, guys. If you want to look this up on the internet, you will see that people have had tons of debates about this. Going both ways. I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen it on other websites. But Davan definitely argued this one better. So the point goes to him. And
thank you. Gracias.
Jessica, you had this was 7-5. You had a great run today. And thanks. And Davan, I hope I don't have to compete against you anytime in the future, because you can argue pretty well, especially for your first time ever being on this show. And maybe
thanks, man.
Bring Max back in and say thanks for trying.
Yeah, Max.
Tune into my debate show at 5 p.m. today. Oh,
yeah,
Atlantic.
Chris, you just didn't like my young person views. That's it. That's
it's possible.
Right,
I found some of them offensive.
We gotta play the victory music for Davan.
Is my check in the mail too?
Sure.
There you go. I'll come back too.
There goes the neighborhood, guys. All right.
This is our producer, Dave Mader. Dave, do you want to do the closing notes?
Sure, I will. Okay, so where to start? Thank you for tuning into this episode of Trivial Debates. Here, I'm gonna come over here and be big. Thank you for. We hope you enjoyed it. Great job, Chris. I know you had some tough decisions you had to make there. There were some great arguments. Great job, even to you, Max. Even though Jody was throwing shade at you in the chat.
What a shock! Jody was throwing shade at me. Say it ain't so.
Couldn't even take one round, he says. So the Sharks fail. But Max was saying that, Chris, you were biased against Max's young person views. Are you ageist?
I am not ageist.
Debatable. Oh, look at the. Okay.
This is my prize. This is my winning prize.
Saturday morning cartoons. How did neither of you say Spider-Man?
Because the X-Men show was better than the Spider-Man show,
No,
but
it
only
was
by a little.
not.
Only by a little.
If you would have just
Oh.
brought him out from the get-go, you would have just won from
You
the
got the-
beginning.
This
Baby-
is her. Actually, this is Edith.
Oh,
Baby
good.
Edith.
Hi,
Okay, I'm not
Edith.
the only one that dresses
Hi.
my baby girl in Spider-Man outfits. She's
Hi.
so cute.
Oh,
You
she's a
should have
baby.
won. You win all.
You should have won. You can have all of
You
Daddy's
should have
points.
won.
Yes.
And on that note, yeah, so we do this show every month, Trivial Debates. So we'll have one at the end of October, but maybe it will be Halloween themed or something like that. Because it will be the last Sunday of October, which I guess in this case will be October 31st. Actually, will be Halloween itself. So so get ready for that. Also, check out our other channels, including Super Mader Brothers Podcasting. That's our channel where we talk about scripted and unscripted shows that are well, specifically not Star Trek, because we also have a Star Trek theme channel. And so on Super Mader Brothers Podcasting, we're talking about Big Brother season 23. We have been for 12 weeks now. We're gonna be on tonight to talk about the final three, first part of the HOH. Jameel Robinson, Jeff Mader, and I breaking that all down. We're also covering Survivor right now. If you're a season 41 that just started, we did the premiere on Wednesday, and also a draft and a cast preview earlier this week. And also on Super Mader Brothers Podcast, we talk about other shows, including Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. We did Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. We're going to be talking about the new Marvel What If series. It's on Disney Plus. There's one more episode to go, and once all the episodes are out, we're going to be diving into that. And if you like shows like Tiger King, or like shows like Tiger King, or like The Serpent, or Westworld, we've talked about those shows too. Plus, Live Long and Podcast is our Star Trek theme channel where we talk about new and old Star Trek, and we even do Star Trek radio theater and things like that. So on most Monday nights, we talk about Star Trek, the original series. We've been talking about every episode, along with Jody Simpson, Adam Woodward, and my dad, and Jeff's been in there, and Ashley Millard. We only have 5 to go. We're taking a couple weeks off as people are off right now. But if you like Star Trek, the original series, check that out. If you like Star Trek Deep Space Nine, we've been talking about every episode in order for a while now, over a year now, and into season 4 right now. We're going to be talking about Our Man Bashir this coming Tuesday. And the new shows we've been talking about, including Star Trek Lower Decks. Davan and I and Jeff and Jameel have been covering that every week for 7 weeks now, talking about Star Trek Lower Decks and those episodes. And when that wraps, actually, we're going to be doing Star Trek Prodigy along with Jessica and Davan. So I was glad you guys got a chance to meet today, as we'll be all on that panel talk. That's the new children's show that's going to be on Nickelodeon. So couple, both parents with young kids. I think this is going to be a good panel to take in that show. Star Trek Discovery will be starting up in November, and we'll be covering that with Michael Chan and Adam Woodward, and Star Trek Picard in the new year. So, and then Strange New Worlds, I guess, down the road. Plus Star Trek Radio Theater, and we have a ton of episodes there where we do the script reads. A lot of us have been on those episodes, and we'll be kicking up with those as soon as like Big Brother and all these other podcasts die down. So it's get back to doing those again. So I think those are all the shows. Also want to plug Davan's podcast, which is called Locutors of Trek, which is another Star Trek themed podcast he does with his friend Dave out of Nova Scotia. And I'm going to be on there tonight, or this afternoon, I guess, 4 p.m. Eastern over on your channel. Davan, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we're going. I started to feel antiquated, not doing any live stream stuff, hanging out with you guys. So we're Locutors of Trek is going video. We call it Locutors of Trek on screen.
On screen. On screen.
On screen. And we're gonna start things off with a Debate 9, another debate show, but a little different than this one.
Yeah,
gonna be fun.
Tune into that. That starts at 4
with
p.m.
you a bit, Dave.
Yeah, 4 p.m. Eastern today. And with that, Chris, the floor is yours to just take us away for today's episode.
Well, just thanks everyone for being here and competing today. And again, congratulations to Davan, first time on the show, first win, perfect record. Congrats to Max for giving it his all. And
You also had a perfect record.
And congrats to Jessica
Sorry for ruining your perfect record.
Really well. And with that, I guess I'll see everybody next time.
All right, here we go.
Thanks.
See you later, guys.